Hello, everyone. My name is Christine Howell. I am a senior student majoring in managerial economics and psychology. Today, I'll be talking about my research relating to the achievement gaps and gender disparities in higher education. The motivation for this research, aside from being a female STEM student myself, is actually due to the fact that there is a continuous gender inequality in the economics professions and just any STEM professions in general, thus leading to overall wealth inequalities in different genders. According to the US Department of Labor blog, women continue to be underrepresented in STEM occupations, with women's share of computer workers actually declining since 1990. This trend has been further worsened by the pandemic, as the level of women in labor force actually declined to late 1980s level. Thus, in an attempt to investigate the potential reasons for underrepresented women in STEM professions, I think it is essential that we look at gender disparities in STEM majors in higher education, which could be a potential reason for gender gaps in the workforce. There are many studies that try to explain the gender disparities in both higher education and STEM professions. And today I'll be sharing two of the studies that highlight the gender disparities in both the academia and the workplace. When looking at the gender distributions in higher education, it is surprising that the gender distribution in most institutions are, in fact, quite equal. Though some schools still have more men in their STEM majors, many other schools, like the ARE department at UC Davis, actually has more female students in their STEM majors. However, gender inequality in higher education today actually exists in different forms. In the study done by Mendelberg et al. At Brigham Young University, in group discussions when the decision rule is by majority, women are being interrupted more and have less deciding power, especially when the group has more male students. Whereas when the group decision rule is unanimous, meaning everyone has to agree on the decision, women are seen with higher participation rate regardless of the group gender distribution. As for in the workforce, according to an experiment done by Natasha Quadlin, where Quadlin submitted 2,106 job applications with GPAs, gender, and college majors experimentally manipulated, the female applicants with high college GPAs are actually being penalized for their high achievements, as they are usually viewed as more skeptic and less likable. And they would get a similar callback rates as moderately performing female applicants. Whereas for male applicants, GPA seems not to matter at all. In fact, male applicants with high GPAs are being called back almost twice as much as women with similar GPAs. My research question thus is, are female students in STEM majors at UC Davis having a more difficult time than male students in terms of learning experience and learning outcome? In today's presentation, I'll be focusing on learning outcomes only, as my advisor, Professor Kristen Kiesel, is still in the process of collecting survey data on students' learning experience. The data set I used for my research includes 1,972 UC Davis student data points. These data points are in three majors: managerial economics, and environmental sciences and management. I chose these three majors because there are three STEM majors with different gender distributions. Managerial economics has about equal gender distribution. Economics has slightly fewer women, while environmental sciences and management has more women. The data set has a total of 139 variables, including grades in major core classes. And I looked at student performance over the 6 quarters from pre-COVID fall 2019 to COVID quarters up to fall 2020. The method for my research is to regress grades in the major core class on its prerequisite classes and control for variables including student, class, and instructor characteristics, with a focus on gender and COVID shock. In today's presentation, I'll be presenting the results for managerial economics and economics only. As this is still an ongoing research, and I am currently still working on the environmental sciences and management major. Here is a variable summary for the ARE major regression models, where I used grades in ARE 100A and Stats 103 to predict ARE 106 grades, controlling for student characteristics, including whether the prerequisite classes, Stats 103 and ARE 100A, are taken in the student's first quarter at UC Davis, whether they are female students, whether they are participants in the Educational Opportunity Financial Aid Program, or EOP, whether they are international students, non-CA domestic, or transfer students. Class characteristics include whether ARE 106 was taken during COVID, which are all online instructions, percentage female international students, and mean grades in ARE 106 classes. The instructor characteristics include whether the instructor is female and whether they are PhD students. Since all ARE 106 instructors in these 6 quarters are men, I excluded the instructor gender variable from my regression. The first regression model I ran for the ARE major consists of only grades in the prerequisite classes and my primary variable of interest, female. The second model added whether ARE 106 was taken during COVID quarters, and we can see an overall inflation of grades in ARE 106 during COVID online instruction. The third model consists of all the dependent variables, and the last model added relevant interaction variables. The result I found was contrary to my initial theory. Female students are actually performing better than male students, with around a 0.3 GPA increase, which is equivalent to an increase in letter grade from a B to B+. And this effect is even larger when the female student is part of the EOP financial aid program. The effect of better performance in female students is true even when interacting the female variable with COVID, which shows that better performance trend in female students stayed the same pre and during COVID. Another interesting finding from my regression models is that during COVID, international students are actually performing better in ARE 106 with an almost 0.4 increase in GPA. This could be due to the fact that with lecture recordings, international students now can better conquer language barriers by rewatching and translating the lecture. It could also be due to an increase in cheating behavior though, but from my data set, there is no way to tell for sure. Moving on to my regression model for the economics major. The variables I used for this major is comparable to those for the managerial economics major, so I'll not be going through the variable list in detail again. The only difference in the economics regression models is that I predicted economics 100B grades with economics 100A grades. Also, I used INT for international students and TRSF for transfer students in the regression models for this major. The regression results for the economics major is consistent with that of the ARE major, with grades in Econ 100B being higher in COVID quarters and female students performing better in Econ 100B even during COVID quarters. However, the enlarged effect with female and EOP program is not seen in Econ 100B. This could be due to the fact that the economics major only has 10% of the students in this data set who are enrolled in the EOP program, whereas for the ARE major, it has around 17% of students enrolled. The trend of international students performing better during COVID is also not seen in the econ major. And I think this could be due to the nature of the class being different from ARE 106. And now I'll conclude my presentation with the key findings in my research. Female students performed better in core classes in both majors. The pandemic did not change female students' higher performance than male students. EOP students in general performed worse, but female students who are enrolled in the EOP program perform better in the ARE core class than male EOP students. And instructor characteristics seem to be having limited effect on female students' performance in both majors' core classes. As for in the future, I am planning on finishing my research for the environmental sciences and management major, while continuing my investigation in gender disparities in the workforce, especially when considering the findings in my research that female students are actually performing better than their male counterparts in STEM majors. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, please utilize the Q&A function on the Go React platform, and I'll respond to your question as soon as possible. Thank you. Bye.